how to wire a new residential construction. Hey YouTubers, welcome back to the channel today. I'm sitting in road construction, so I have my Bluetooth and my hands-free set up with the dash cam, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about owning your own business or starting your own electrical company. So just to give you a little bit of history, I've been doing this now 20 years, and I started out just myself. And an old guy told me when I first started I wouldn't make any money for the first 5 years, and he was right. It takes that long to get a customer clientele of repeat customers built up that will call you back and pay you without a hassle. So there are many struggles with owning an electrical company. Excuse me. Growth would be one of them. Keeping everybody satisfied and juggling the jobs is another one. Employees is one of the biggest ones. I now run between 5 and 6 employees full-time at all times, plus a bookkeeper. So that's quite a job in itself, because they have families and things they need to take care of. So there's a lot of pressure on me as an owner to make sure the work is there, make sure the work is organized, and make sure they have the materials to do the jobs correctly. And also communicate with them, with the clients, so that the jobs go smoothly, which is important. If there's one thing I would say about having employees, your employees are your business. So if you don't treat your employees properly as an employer, your employees aren't going to treat your business good. There's a lot of old school electricians that try to whip their employees into shape, and that just, this day and age, it just doesn't work. You treat them well and communicate with them as much as you possibly can, sometimes several times a day. So that's one of the key features. Another key feature to running your own business is paperwork. A lot of electrical companies that are good electricians are not business people, and they take the paperwork too lightly, and then they end up getting themselves into trouble with the government, either the IRS or the CRA or the local government authority that does their audits. So I can tell you, when these people come in and they do an audit, they are very thorough, and anything that is not in black and white or somewhat questionable gets thrown out. And then you have to pay lawyers and accountants to prove to them why an expense or a sale is what it is, basically. So if I had any word of advice for a business owner, I'd say take some sort of a business course with some sort of small bookkeeping, so that you can help your bookkeeper organize your paperwork. Your paperwork is very, very important. Staying on top of your invoices, paying your taxes, staying on top of your accounts receivable, following up with your clients, because clients will take 90 days, 120 days to pay, and you don't want to be their bank. So the best thing to do is follow right up. Have an invoice ready right at the end of the job to try to get the customer to pay. Always take a down payment on the job. That seems to be the industry standard or normal these days. If the customer is going to give you an issue up front with some sort of a down payment to cover materials, that should be a red flag for you. You don't want to do their work. The next most important feature would be your vendors or your suppliers, where you get your materials. They're going to have several supplier accounts where you get materials from. The more the merrier, especially if you're traveling on the road, which we do a lot, because you don't want to have to run back to your hometown if you're outside your hometown working, so that you can get materials. And stay up on your material accounts. Pay them every month. Pay them on time. And you'll develop a really good relationship with them. Listen to your employees. Listen to what they have to say. Take everything into account. And like I said before, work with them. If they need a day off, work with them. If they're off because they're sick, work with them. Like I said, your employees are your company. So you want to take care of your employees, and they will take care of your company. One of the biggest things that I did for my employees was to do profit sharing. Profit sharing gives the employees the ability to earn a company profit on top of their regular salary. And this is done once a year, and it goes percentage-wise by how long they've been in the company and what level apprenticeship they're at, or licensed electrician. I find this works very well because what it does is it keeps them honest, and it keeps them talking to the other employees to make sure they're all working, so I don't have to do that job. So if one employee is showing some slack, the other employees will give them trouble, basically, and it kind of works itself out. As an employer, you need to understand, having your own company may look great from the outside. The amount of unbillable and uncountable hours that you're going to put into this is a lot. I can tell you right now, whatever you think it is, you're underestimating. So most of your employees will put in 35, 40, 45 hours a week. Your week doesn't stop there. You're doing calls nights, you're doing calls weekends. And I'm not talking about just calls. I'm talking about answering emails. I'm talking about calling people back. I'm talking about paperwork. A lot of people think that employees just drive around in their big boss truck with their coffee and don't do anything. Well, that's farthest from the truth. So be sure that you're willing to put in that time and that time management if you want to run your own business. So one thing that I find that's very helpful for me is every evening at the end of the day when I organize the work, I text all the guys with the work for the next day, and then I make up, actually write it on a checklist on a board, what I have to do the next day, and then I check that stuff off as I go through my day, as well stuff added to that list to keep it organized. Because when it becomes the point that you have 5 or 6 different jobs on the go a day, it gets rather confusing, especially when you're doing, smaller jobs that only take an hour or few, or you're doing service calls. They can add up quite quick, and it's quite easy to forget to bill somebody. So you don't want to forget that. It's the little things that are very important that'll make or break your business. On another note, one thing that's very important is staying honest with your customers. So if you're younger and you plan to make a career at it, you can't go around ripping your customers off. You want to give them transparent, honest prices. You can put your industry normal markups on your materials. You can charge normal for your labor and your travel. But I find one very important key to running a business successfully, and this takes some time, you can't do it right away, is to not work by the hour and to work by the job. So if you quote the job and you stick to that quote, it gives the customer or the client peace of mind that they're going to get that price. And you price it high enough that you know you're going to make money. If the customer makes changes and they add to the quote, then you're going to simply outline that for them. If the customer removes things from the quote, then you'd be less of an honest person if you didn't drop the price or remove it from the quote. That's just, a quote is, I don't want to say it's an estimate, because an estimate is so loosey-goosey. A quote gives people a firm price, so something to look forward to, that they kind of know they're going to pay. Always give your quotes in writing. Never give a verbal quote. And the reason I'm telling you that is because when you start to get 20, 30 jobs that you're quoting, and let's say you get 1 in 3 jobs or 2 in 3 jobs, the next thing you know, you're forgetting who you quoted, you're forgetting that you wrote down numbers, you're forgetting how to call people back. So always do a written quote and email it to the customer or serve it to them. That way, in a couple of months' time, when they call you and say they're ready to do the work, you can just pull it up on your computer and know exactly what they're talking about. Again, paperwork. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. and I swear by it. Organization skills are one of the most underestimated skills of running any business, especially an electrical business. So now we're going to talk about some of the cons of owning your electrical business, and then we'll follow up with the pros. Number one, the amount of time that you're going to put into this, like I mentioned before. Is your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, prepared for you to be working all the time? Because that's what you're doing. You know, are they prepared for you to be sitting at the supper table and a call come in from one of your contractors saying that customers' pipes flooded and they can't get the power shut off and you've got to go because it's causing damage to the house? Or if you do insurance work like we do, and there's a fire in the middle of the night and you have to run an hour away to go shut the power off and make it safe, or is your significant other prepared to deal with that? Because the divorce rate for self-employed people is extremely high. So that's one thing that you should be aware of. The other thing is employees. Like I said, your employees are everything, but they can also get the best of you sometimes. Sometimes you've got to pick your battles, and sometimes you just have to choose when and when not to open your mouth, and have to, I don't want to use the word discipline because that's wrong, coach them properly to do a better job. That's a very important key feature. Another con would be just never having a minute to yourself. That's one of the biggest things that you're going to find a hard time, is never having a minute to yourself. If you're doing your business correctly and your business is growing, then you should always be able to find something to do. I know that kind of sounds weird, but there's always paperwork you can do. There's always trucks you can clean out. There's always materials you can organize, all of that. There's always customers you can call, quotes. At the same time, you have to try to find that fine balance with your family, because it does take its toll. Okay, now for some of the pros of having your own company. Having no one, well, I don't want to say not having anyone to answer to, because there's always someone you have to answer to, whether it be the government, or whether it be local wiring inspectors, or whether it be your inspection authority. There's always someone you're going to have to answer to, and there's always someone you're going to cater to, especially your bigger clients that you have contracts with. You're always tending to cater to their needs. That is a pro, because that gives you long-term work, which takes a while to build up. Another pro is after a while you'll build up a substantial amount of money in your accounts. Having the ability to get a hold of that money, even though it's not yours, in case of an emergency, that's a nice feeling that there's a nest egg there. If you need it, you can get your hands on it. Keep in mind that took about 5 years to get the accounts where they needed to be. Another perk is, if you want to knock off at 2 o'clock on a Friday, you can knock off at 2 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, the repercussions of that you're going to have to deal with, because there's probably stuff you should be doing, but at the end of the day, you're going to have no one to answer to when it comes to that. Financial independence. You won't have to live paycheck to paycheck. You live basically month to month, or every 6 months to 6 months. I do month to month, because what I do is I take shareholders' draws out of the company, and then I review how the company's doing every month to see how much I should be taking out, to see where the profits are for the company. One major perk, I love to travel, as most people do. So a word to the wise, get some company credit cards with some good travel rewards. So there are a number of companies that have business travel reward credit cards. So what you do is, at the end of each month, you work out a deal with your supplier to pay them for your materials on your credit card. That builds up what we call travel points, or air miles, and then you immediately take, excuse me, the money out of your business account to pay back down your credit card so that you don't get interest charges on it. You would be surprised how quick those air miles or those travel points add up on that credit card. You can cash it in for cash value, you can buy things with it, or you can use it for travel. Now they're geared for travel, so you're probably going to get the most dollar value out of your travel. But I travel every year, so except for with this pandemic, we haven't been traveling the last couple of years. But that's the only true way as a business owner that I find I can disconnect. If I just shut down for a week and I go away somewhere local, then I'm going to tend to answer my emails and I'm going to tend to answer my phone. The only true way as a business owner is to take yourself out of the equation. So if I jump on a plane and go somewhere tropical, I can't answer the phone and I can't answer the email. Well, I can. I mean, I can get through Wi-Fi, but you really don't want to. So it's a nice disconnect away from the everyday life of business, which is important to have for your mental stability. Trust me. So those are some of the major pros of having your own company. Hope you like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be having some more training videos like this throughout our series, and we'll see you on the next one.